All rise on the court, or Shelby Jolly, go today.
All right, thank you, please be seated. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
I understand we have a bond hearing that they would like to address.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right?
Your Honor, the state would call the State of Georgia versus Committee Oliver Melton. Mr. Melton, is that not?
It is. Mr. Melton, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Melton, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me know if you cannot hear either me or the state's counsel or defense counsel in the case.
Yes, sir.
Right, and you are entitled to have your case heard live and in open court, but it's my understanding that there's a request to conduct this bond hearing by video. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Did we lose signal?
Looks like we cut out.
I don't know if you heard me or not, but the question was, you're entitled to have your hearing live and in an open courtroom, but it's my understanding that you wish to have this bond hearing conducted by video. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this event occurred on August 20th, about 9:50 in the morning, over on 13th Avenue. And that morning, Code Enforcement Officer Charles Case went to 1222 and a half 13th Avenue for the purpose of putting up condemned signs on the property. The defendant is the owner of that address, as well as the properties at 1222 and 1224 13th Avenue. Officer Case had been there two days prior to put condemned signs up on the property, but the signs continue to be taken down. It is also worth noting that prior to that, when Officer Case arrived at the location, the owner was apparently not at the location. Over the past 10 years, however, Code Enforcement has had a significant string of events that have occurred with this defendant, problems with this defendant, including an incident several years ago where he actually attacked the officers with a shovel. It was the policy of the department not to go to the location to encounter Mr. Melton alone. So essentially, Officer Case had contacted the marshal's office, and Deputy Ashley was on her way over there. They were actually on the phone with each other. And shortly after arriving at 1222 and a half 13th Avenue, he was on the phone with Deputy Ashley, is asking her to come over, and then is startled and indicates to Deputy Ashley that the owner is here. But I guess whatever Mr. Melton was doing made Officer Case believe that he was leaving the scene initially, because he indicated to Deputy Ashley that he believed that Melton would not be at the location by the time that Deputy Ashley arrived. She then asked, Deputy Ashley then overheard that Officer Case asked the person for his ID, and at some point during this, Officer Case indicates that he has a gun, and she hears 3 gunshots, and Officer Case indicating, he shot me, help me. He then had sustained 3 shotgun wounds, 2 in the right side, 1 in the left side. At least one of those wounds was inflicted upon Officer Case while he was running away, as it was from back to front. He was also standing alongside of his code enforcement truck when this happened. The back window of the truck was actually shot in the blast. At that point, Mr. Melton then got in his truck and fled the scene. There is a significant amount of video surveillance in this investigation that reveals that he then fled to South Carolina at that point. There was a massive manhunt, multiple agencies, state and federal, involved, and ultimately, after about 8 hours of searching, they were able to find Mr. Melton essentially kind of in the Graniteville area, at a friend's house. When confronted with this information, Mr. Melton deny being anywhere near the area of the shooting, indicating that he had gone to South Carolina at approximately 7 o'clock in the morning. However, the video evidence very strongly refutes that. In addition to that, there are witnesses that were present at the scene that did identify Mr. Melton as the shooter and observed him fleeing the area, while Officer Case was still present and obviously suffering from gunshot wounds on scene. Mr. Melton, excuse me, he has a history dating back to 1975. He has felony forgery in 1975. He also had a 1999 aggravated assault that was reduced to simple battery. He had 2 different suspended licenses in 2000. 2003, he had possession of hydrocodone that was reduced to disorderly conduct. He also has 2004 giving false information and driving with a suspended license as well, and that would be in South Carolina. Your Honor, the state is adamantly opposed to bond in this case. We do believe Mr. Melton does pose a significant danger to persons in the community, as well as being a significant risk of fleeing from the jurisdiction. The property in question, while he does own that property, has some significant issues. I believe it was foreclosed on by the tax commissioner, and which probably coincided with why Officer Case was there to begin with. There were some other junk vehicles and other various violations. At any rate, I don't believe that it's a residence that we would be able to go back to for any length of time. But we would be adamantly opposed to bond. Your Honor, I should also point out that there are a number of people in the audience today. Many of these are Officer Case's co-workers, as well as his wife and his father. Officer Case has 4 children that were left behind. Oh, I think they may have lost. Did we lose connection?
They're back on. All right.
But again, I have spoken with the family.
Hang on.
Is it because they're not moving?
All right. Okay.
I have spoken with the family as well, and again, Your Honor, they are also adamantly opposed to bond. I'm not sure if anybody wanted to address the court. If anybody wants to, you might raise your hand. That's all that we have at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. First off, obviously, anytime a life is lost, it's extremely tragic. I know he leaves behind kids, a wife, I'm sure other family members, friends. My heart goes out to them. Smitty's heart also goes out to them. This has been a highly publicized case. Most of it has covered, Mr. Case's life. He spent 20 plus years in the Marines. He worked for the city. He has a lot of friends, co-workers that their hearts go out to, which again, we share that sentiment. But nothing's been said about Smitty. Smitty also served in the military. He served in the Navy. His father was a 20 plus year vet of the Air Force. He is a lifetime resident of Augusta. His family is here in support of him. Only some of them can make it. If y'all could stand, please. They own several properties. Y'all can sit. They own several properties around Augusta. He would have some place to stay. His brother also followed in his footsteps and served in the Navy as well. Worked 23 years at Wackenhut, then 6 years doing security at another plant. His mother was retired. They're both deceased from Kendall's Manufacturing. He has strong ties, only ties to the Augusta community that includes, all right. In speaking with people, I've only had this case for a week, but I've probably spoken to over a dozen people regarding Smitty. He knows a lot of people in Aiken. He would regularly go to Aiken to cut yards, work on vehicles. Everybody has basically referred to him as a master mechanic. That's what he did. He went to Job Corps to be a mechanic. He went to the Navy to be an aviation mechanic. And that's what he's done. He's a mechanic, he does yards, and everybody is in support of him. He knows a lot of people. I've spoken to a lot of people. Some of them could not be here on such short notice, but he has unwavering support from friends and family. Now, After leaving the Navy, and this is just a background of his employment, he worked at the post office, he worked at Lily Cup, which used to be the plant that had the big solo cup right there on Wrightsboro Road, Castleberry Restaurant, Club Car, SRS, school out in Aiken, Roads Used Cars as a mechanic and a salesperson, and DSM Chemicals. He's currently disabled from car accident. And more importantly, not more importantly, but just as importantly, everybody says Smitty is a nice guy. I know Ms. Payne demonstrated to the court that he's had run-ins with code enforcement, which, you know, a lot of people do. Been in ordinance court, I know that happens. I've also spoken to a person I'm not going to put on the record. If names want to be given off the record, that's fine. But has personally told me that Smitty was at his residence in Aiken approximately 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning.
And I would object, Your Honor, he's not gonna state the name of the person who indicated that, then I don't believe it.
Well, if you don't state the names of the victims to protect their identity, I will give you the name. I'm not putting it on the record.
I don't think it matters to make that statement for purposes of a bond hearing, but, you know, go ahead.
Well, it does, Judge, because that person was contacted, from what I've been told, by Richmond County the same day. And they came out and interviewed that person, and he told them the same thing, that Smitty was there from 8:30 to 9. The shooting that happened at 9:50.
I'm talking about the objection, not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What you're making, so go ahead.
So I've spoken to that person, and I've also spoken to another person out in Aiken that he was at his residence after he left the other person's residence when they apprehended him in Aiken.
Okay.
So there's an alibi here. He has strong ties. I mean, somewhat no history. I mean, a felony from 1975 and a felony from 2014 and some driving infractions. He's not going anywhere. He's a candidate for bond, Judge. It's a sad case. But he's going to show up for court.
All right, thank you. I will deny bond in the matter, and find that Mr. Melton is flight risk and poses a danger to the persons in the community.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach?
That's all I have, Judge. Maybe excuse.